Yep.
What has it been like, just kind of building a camaraderie with the staff?
I mean, good, because a lot of us have known each other for a long, long time. You know, I'm from here, and I've known Coach Regal 20 plus years. I've known Coach Iguano and Coach Mons recruiting their schools. I've known Coach Dillingham. Obviously, me and Coach Ward have worked together in 2 different schools. So when you can jump in right away, especially as chaotic as December and January are for a new staff, and get to work with people you know, makes that transition a little bit smoother.
Yeah. This linebacker group in particular doesn't have too many newcomers, but a lot of them seem like they can have an impact very early on. And
we got 4, you know, so I'd say that's a decent amount. And we're expecting, whether it's them or the guys that are here, the number one thing I told the group is everybody's got a clean slate. I don't really care what they did in the past, and we're going to compete, and the guys that compete and guys who are the best leaders that play the hardest and get everybody lined up the best and make the most plays, those are going to be the guys on the field.
I look at a guy like Travion Brown, though, in particular, as a guy who did a lot with you guys at Washington State that you guys are familiar with. What does he bring to the table into this group? He seems like he has that leadership quality.
Yeah, he brings a huge leadership component, brings a guy that's understanding of, I mean, he's played a lot of football at this level in this conference, a guy that's made a lot of plays, a guy that understands our defense and the ins and outs, you know what I mean? And so just that understanding of what we need to do and where we need to go, and Trey's been there before, so really he's really bringing the kind of that bridge from the players to the coaches, if that makes sense.
What role positionally do you imagine he has within this defense?
Oh, you know, Trey will, be a Mike, but he's also going to play some Will too. You know what I mean? Those are our 2 spots, and so he'll major in Mike, but he's going to have to be able to do both at some point.
Is he a guy where you could see him just given the leadership, and he's been here before, that he could kind of take on like a captain sort of role for a team like this?
Potentially, and ultimately that's going to be up to the players to decide. You know what I mean? I'm a little biased because I've known Trey since he was a sophomore, junior in high school. I recruited him when I was at Wyoming, so I think he's got those natural abilities, but just like everything else, Trey's going to have to earn that right to do that for his teammates.
And then looking at the rest of the group, there's a good crop of returners. Will Schaefer, Caleb McCullough. What do those guys sort of bring to the group? What have they dawned on you about just what has been?
Will, I've been really pleased with. I've just seen a guy that you can see his hunger. You can see a guy that got a good taste of action last year and really wants to take the next step. Caleb, I'm really challenging that he needs to come into his own. Caleb's got ability. He's a guy, when you walk around the building, people talk about him, you know what I mean, in good ways, and I'm really challenging Caleb to take the next step in his growth and become the guy, if that makes sense. And obviously we've got Tate and Crew and, Jordan. There's some other guys in the mix, too, that I'm really excited to watch them move around, Zach Bowers, and just see how they compete and how they can do.
And, just looking at guys like Schaefer and McCullough, they were very hard-working guys on, special teams last year. Didn't get a lot of time on defense, but it was something where you could sense they knew they were working hard enough to get to a point where they could see the field to that point. Have you seen them work hard like that, and what have you sort of...
Well, that's what I like. With Will, I'm kind of, it's always interesting. The longer you coach, you see how guys make their progressions, and it's kind of like they'll hit a plateau, and then they take the next step, and I'm starting to see that with Will. You're seeing a guy that, to me, and again, I wasn't around Will last year. I recruited Will out of high school, so I knew him. I see a more confident young man just in who he is and how he carries himself. I see that in his leadership qualities, and I see that in the way he's working in the weight room out in the field.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about, I look at some of the transfers you brought in. Crew Jackson is someone who's very intriguing because he seems like he can be more of a hybrid type guy who can play and drop back and pass coverage as like a safety if need be, but can also play in the box a little bit and make plays, whether it's blitzing and things like that. Do you feel like he fits more?
We don't, when it comes to our safeties and backers are kind of different worlds as far as the way we coach them, if that makes sense. So we're really excited to use his length, and especially in space at the linebacker position. Really, I want to build Crew's confidence. You know what I mean? Get him on the field in special teams, get him on the field in defense. Because when you got a guy with that length and some of his abilities, we definitely got to find a role for him. And like with a lot of young players, you got to take their confidence and build it every day.
Is he the kind of player where, you can be super versatile with him? You can put him at like a Mike spot, you can put him at a Will and bring him off the edge, or you can set him up in different places and he can still make plays?
That's left to be seen because we got to get in the grass and see.
Right, yeah.
When you watch his high school tape, you would say that, and some of the things he did at his previous school. But again, the number one job of the coach is to build confidence. You got to figure out how he learns and what he's going to process, and then put him in those best spots. And we have that flexibility with our linebackers.
And then you mentioned like Tate Romney. What does he bring to the group?
Well, Tate's an explosive kid. I mean, Tate can run. He's a really explosive kid on contact. I think he's got some natural leadership skills. I'm really excited to continue to work with Tate and help him grow and develop. And you're talking about a guy that, you know, has 3-4 years too. Like, really excited about Tate, and obviously a kid coming back, just like Crew coming back to the Valley. I know it really means a lot for those guys to be able to come home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can't put a price on that.
Exactly. How important? I talked to Vince Amy a little bit about that. Like, just Kenny, you know, came in and sort of pushed this whole local aspect. You know, bolstering those local ties. How important was that for you? And when he approached you about this job, and how have you seen that pay dividends so far?
Well, I think it's everything, because you look at any really successful program around the country at any level, they always take care of their home first. It doesn't mean you sign every kid out of there, but it means you're going to recruit, you're going to evaluate, you're going to communicate with these kids, and that's really, really important. You know, recruiting is like equity. You know what I mean? And when you got equity in your pocket, a lot of good things can happen for you. Does that make sense? And especially in this day and age with the transfer portal, proximity in recruiting is really important. If that makes sense. Kids are less likely to leave if they are from that area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when mom and dad and grandma can come to the game. So that's a huge piece. And really, with our staff and the ties that we've had, really reconnecting back with the people in the Valley. And, you know, it's one thing to talk about it, but actually get down the road and doing it and showing people, hey, we're going to make these kids a priority.
And then you just, like you said, being from here, you know, growing up, you know, sort of understanding what the local recruiting aspect was like here. Like, how important was it just for you personally to come back here and to be a part of something like that?
I mean, it's, you know, it's cliche to say it's a dream job, but it really is. You know what I mean? To be able to come back home where I still have family, to where I grew up watching the Sun Devils, coming to games. My grandma's been a season ticket holder. Like, I can't put in words. Like, I pinch myself every time I walk in the building. It's like, man, I can't believe I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, it's awesome. So, yeah, it's a dream job. You know what I mean? And want to make this dream last as long as we possibly can.